Hi, this is Teresa LaFleur. We're going to talk about Chapter 5, which is Indexing Rules 9 and 10. Rule 9 talks about the same names or identical names. So, for example, if you see here, the Seaside Inn is the name of every one of these filing segments, but you'll notice that they are in different cities and states. So you always, when you're doing this type of indexing, you will always take a look. If the name is the same for the main unit, then you need to take a look at the city and then the state. So as you can see here, there were several that were Oceanside, and so you put those in order as Oceanside, but you have to go by the state since they were still identical at that point. The Seaside Inn for these other ones are in Ventura, Walnut, and Westwood. They are in different cities, so you would not file them by state order. Those would be by city. So your filing for identical names always goes by city, state, then street. And if you need to get into detail from street, it goes by digits and how the name is written. All that's in your textbook. Take a really good look at that. Begins with the government names, and we're going to start first with those that are local and regional government names. You will always have whatever county or city or area it is first. So, for example, on County of Alameda Aquatic Center, Alameda is the actual name of the area we're looking at. So you would say Alameda, County of, and then do Aquatic Center. The second one would be City of Arlington Public Library. You would focus on the city, Arlington, and then you would have City of as your next two units, and then Public Library. The next one is City of Arlington Senior Center. You're looking at the city, so it would be Arlington, and then City of Senior Citizen. All of these, and you do need to have the city of, it's very important to help distinguish, but you put the city first or the county, that type of information first. When you're looking at state government names, the state itself is what your key unit is going to be. That is the most important information. So, for example, the Michigan Office of Attorney General. Michigan, it will be your first unit because that is the most important, the state. And then you'd need to take a look at what's most important next. Is it office or is it Attorney General? It's Attorney General. So you would do Attorney General as your next two units, and then Office of is the last ones. Taking a look at the next one, Michigan Department of Civil Service. You need to look at the state first, of course, Michigan, and then what is important? Department of Civil Service. What in that is important? And Civil Service is your answer. So it'd be Civil Service Department of. You would, if you're looking at Michigan, you're going to have Department of for 50 billion different things. So the Department of is going to become the last indexing units because it's not as important as the actual department itself. In looking at the federal government, you need to look at indexing levels instead of the individual parts. So basically what you need to understand with any type of federal government group, the level 1 is going to be United States government, always. That's for any federal agency. The second level will be what department or agency is it? So, for example, National Weather Service, Department of Commerce. This is Commerce, Department of, because the department is the most important part after United States government. And then the level 3 would be the National Weather Service. The next one, Office of Civil Rights, Department of Education. Level 1 is United States government. Level 2 is Education, Department of. And then level 3 would be Civil Rights, Office of. So your department or your agency is always going to be second, and then which area within that department will be third, if there is one. When looking at foreign governments, we need to first make a translation into English, and then you would file it based upon that translation. So for Principat Andorra, the English translation is Principality of Andorra. So Andorra would be your main unit there. Principality of would be your next units. And remember, this is based upon the English translation. So let's look at number 5 here. Jamhuri ya Kenya translates into the Republic of Kenya. So Kenya would be your first unit. Republic of is your second and third units. As you can see, the first unit is usually the country when you're looking at a foreign government name. When dealing with foreign governments or foreign entities at all, you're going to need to know what the English translation is, but you're also going to need to create that cross-reference. So we would actually file it under the English translation. For example, this one, Humboldt University, would be your first is Humboldt, and then your second segment would be university. But you would need to create that cross-reference for the original foreign language name. So this would be Humboldt-Universitat. That would be your cross-reference and referring back to the English version. For example, the Venezuelan line, the original spelling of that in the foreign language, or name of that in the foreign language is, I cannot pronounce this, Venezuela de Navegación. As you can see, that then would have the C to Venezuela line, which is the English spelling or translation. The last item this chapter talks about is subject filing, or subjects within an alpha filing, I guess I should say. So you have your A, B, C, D, E, but maybe behind each one of those you might have something specific. For example, this one here that we're looking at says you have a file called applications behind the alphabet letter A. And you're doing that because you want to keep all the applications together. You don't want it filed under each person's individual name. So you'd have a file called applications, and then you would have to break it down to what particular position within those applications, and then the people's name after that. And those need to be in order. So for example, on this one, the first position is assistant, the second is cashier, third's data, and the next one's records, and so forth. So within the assistant position of applications, we have 2 people that have applied for that, Jason Branchy and Brenda Fung, and you would need to put those 2 in alphabetical order also by the units so that you would know where their files would be. There are 2 people that applied for the cashier position, 2 for the data, and several for the records. And for the records, you could notice it's even broken down even further by clerk and by supervisor, depending upon which position. So it can keep being further and further broken down. So you may have something under another alphabet that's the same way. You don't necessarily want to have files within files on everything, but if you have something that has a large number of files within that file, then you definitely want to. Well, I hope this has helped you with Chapter 5, so take a look at it. Make sure you read the textbook before you try anything. That will help you tremendously, and give me a call or an email if you have any questions.